Welcome to the Salt Lake County Recorder training. This is how to get on to Salt Lake County Recorder. And this is the first thing you do is if you go to www, up here at the top left, SLC for Salt Lake City, or it's actually SL County, Salt Lake County, SLCO, recorder.org. Click on that, type it in, hit return. It will add those things at the end, so don't worry about that. And then now you're at the county recorder. And there's training sessions that you can go to and look and see, but you also have to pay for it. This costs, I don't know, $100, $200 or so to get on, and then $25 a month, and then whatever you click on can add a lot more. I've seen people spend $5,000 on it. But this is just for the Salt Lake County. And to get on it, all you do is you can go to popular searches, online accounts, a different thing. But really, the only thing you guys need to do right now is click on data search and just click it. Or you can click street addresses. But once you click data search, it will now take you in to the login. So my login is PO1354, and I will give you the password for those of you that are working with me. You hit login. And now you can go search all over the place. Some weird things about County Recorder is sometimes you'll do a search and nothing will come up, and you have to shut it down and restart it back up and log in again. I think I can have as many people on this as I want. The only things you're going to be working on right now after you log in is under property, it says street address or owner name. I'll go into other stuff later, how to find notice of defaults and different things, but this is just how to get on the county recorder and find a house that you've got an address for, to find things about it, or if you have a name, to find someone's name to find out what they owe. So that's all you do to get on here. Just for starters, we're going to go real quick and we'll click street address just to show you. Now, one of my street addresses, say I give you someone and their name is Mark W. Sargent or Louis Gaywaith. All we're doing on this first part is logging in, and then you can do the searches. If you have an address, and that's all you have, you copy the address, you write it down or whatever it is, and then you go to put the address in here. If you put the address in there like that and hit return, it will say it didn't work. Now there's a couple rules for County Recorder. Now you can't put east. It doesn't recognize east. You have to have a number and then a north, south, east, or west, or and a number behind there. You don't have to have avenue, and you don't have to have anything. If you click 1275 East Hudson Avenue and click find, you just found the property. And if you notice, Mark Sargent and Louis Sargent are there. Back here, it was Louis Gaithway. So you can see that they still live at the house. So now you know who the owners of the property is. If you didn't have this, that's how you find the owner's name of a property. Is you just go onto the county recorder, put it in, and find it. But let's go back and let's say that you didn't have 1275 East Hudson Avenue and it's a wrong address or something else. Or even Hudson was wrong. So say you just had 1275 Hudson Avenue. If you put that in, it's not going to find it. So you'd have to take the Hudson Avenue, Control C, or you right click on copy, or go to the top and hit edit copy, whatever you've outlined. Then you click another tab and you're going to go to Google. Oops, not calendar. I just need to go to Google. So it keeps trying to take me to Google. We'll just put the address. That's what we do. And we know this one, if we go back here, it was in the Salt Lake area. Even if it's somewhere in the Salt Lake County, put Salt Lake, it should find it. Put Salt Lake City. And now we've got the address. If you click on it, right here, it says 1275 Hudson Avenue, but we also know that it's south because here is 13th East. Well, actually, it's not south, it's east. So we find out east here, and so it's 1275 East Hudson Avenue. And if you click on it, it will tell you it's in Salt Lake City, zip code, and everything. So now we go back to County Recorder, and you put East Hudson Avenue, and it will find it. But if you don't have the avenue, you can take it off. But you know it's 1275 Hudson. You could even take 1275 Hudson on this. Let's see, 1275 Hudson. And you put Salt Lake City, Utah. And it will come up and it will search and it will find and tell you that it's 1275 East Hudson Avenue, Salt Lake City, Utah, and the zip code 84106. So now you can find it, because sometimes Hudson is also like 2354 West. So that's when you'd have to look on there and see if there's another name for it. And sometimes Hudson's a south, and you have to just keep searching until you can find either Hudson or the address. Now, if you just have 1275 East, and you kind of knew where it was, but that's all you got on the name of the house, and you didn't know the street or something, you can just do one. If all you have is 1275 and you don't remember it, but you think you can, you just hit find. And it shows you over here that there's over 122 houses that have 1275. It's 1275 West, North, East, and all sorts of things. You can see that there's a lot of them. Next thing you do is if you're reading through and you're like, you know what, I was on the east side of town. So now you just put space east and you hit return. Takes it from 122 to 28. Now that makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? So now if you remember the house, you can say, okay, I'll go through that, and you only have 28 to go through, and you go like, I think it was an H name, and you look through them all, and you're like, I'm pretty sure it was H, so now put an H in there. And now we've got two of them, and now you're like, okay, it was Hudson Avenue. So now you know how to find the houses, even if you have a partial address or a full address. And you can then reverse search it. So next thing is finding it by person. So if you know someone and you have their name, you can go owner name. And on this one, it was Mark Sargent. So let's try that again. Mark W. Sargent. So now you just go to data search and owner name. And we know his last name is Sargent. Say that's all you know it because it was Sargent. And you're like, okay, let's think. I think it's that. So you hit find, and there's 56 Sargents. So you go through here, and you know it's a guy, and you're like, maybe it's Mark. So you put an M. Let's make sure it's his name. I lose names. So Mark. And you do have his name, and you just know that it's M. Sargent. If you put M down there, then it'll take it from whatever it was down to 6. Now you've got a couple people. M could be Mark Neil Sargent, so that's a possibility. It's not Michael, it's Mark or Michael, so we know it's either Mark W. or Mark Neil. So if you just put Mark, because we actually don't know what his name is there, because that could be him, but right now we know, maybe you know his full name, Mark Sargent. Then you just put Mark or Sergeant Mark and hit find, and guess what? It's going to find it for you. Now, that's how you find where they live and how many properties they have. So if you go back and do data search and do your name or other people's names, right now I can look at Mark Sargent. I look at his house. The 1275 East shows the owner address, and then the 1275 East shows the parcel address. If I went back to the one before, it shows the same. This is the location of the house that they're at, and this is where they live. So all of these look the same. Olympus, Mount Springs, Elbow, they're all the same. If they were different, that means that that's a rental property. So like if I go off Mark and just go to Sargent, again, we'll find some. So we got G Street, let's see if I can find one that's different. Hancock, Immigration, 2H, 6 East, Browning, Logan, Wright, 27, Hammond, Leland. Here we go. So Diana Sargent She lives at 2439 Cave Hollow Way in Bountiful, Utah. That's her mailing address. This is the mailing address, but she lives on Christine Street. So that's how we find out where people live, is you can put in their name and it will show you where they live and or what properties has that name on. So next thing we do is we go back to Mark. Oops, and if you leave the wrong space there, it deletes it. So SARGENT, comma, Mark. If you put that in there, it takes us to him. And now what you do is, well, let me go back one to give you an idea. Because if you don't have Mark Sargent and you just have an M, you just click Find, and now we've got an M here. And here's the parcel numbers. If you put Mark in, it would just take you to this one right here. It's just like clicking on that right there. So you go to Mark Sargent, you find out here he lives, that's his same address, and now you can find out what's going on with the house. So it's a vacant house, or it's him. If you just have the address, and you find the address in him and him the address. So if you just have the address, it's a vacant house, and now you can find the owners. If you just have a person's name and you want to see if they own any property, you then just click or you search by property address. So now that I've got the house and the person, if the house if the address is the same, we know he lives there. So now we know if there's money owed on that house, we know who the owner is, or if it's going to foreclosure or it's going to notice a default, who to contact and what their names are and where they live. Now, if it's money owed to them and it was a different name, if it's the same name, then you know they still live there. So now we can click on up here. It says go to parcel detail. This will tell you more about the property. Right now we know about the tax value, the land value. If you click residential and it brings up something like that, we know it's a house. This is how many square feet it has. Next, if you do a condo, it doesn't bring up anything. Commercial, nothing. Detached structure it does have a garage. It was built in 2006 and remodeled in 2011. So we do know that it has that. So now we'll go back to the recorder. Land, there's land there. So it has 4.14 acres and residential. We do know that it's almost 2,000 square feet with 7 rooms, 3 bed, 1 kitchen, 1 bath, and whatever else information on it. And if it's more parcel information, this just tells you the owners, the frontage, it's facing east. The street is called Hudson Avenue. And there you got it. And then you got the parcel number. And you can print it out or save it. But now, once we find what we got there, now we go to parcel details. And if you notice, I clicked on parcel details. Because that's the data. That tells us what's been recorded on it. You click on that, and it's the still same parcel up here. You can also put the address there again if you wanted to, but you hit find. And now it will show you that Mark W. and Louise M. Sargent are the owners. They live at 1275 East Hudson Avenue. That's the legal description. The land value, $79,000. Building value, $162. Total value, $242.14 acres. And the parcel address is here. So this is where you mail it to, and this is where they live. It's the same place, so we know that they live there. Now as you scroll down, you'll see that 92, someone bought it. And you can see 92 through 2000, and you can go all the way up to 2010 to when the last one was done. Since it was Mark and Louise, we go from the bottom to the top, and we see if it was a vacant house, we know that they are the ones currently owing it, because that's 2010, it's a trust deed, reconveyance, and other things, and we show it didn't change to anyone else. So now you go back up, and you can see that they've owned it for a while. And you go back up, and it used to be Louise Gaithway, but now it's Louise Sargent. So they got married, and they probably had her name different when they got married and had it changed to or someone else, but they bought it from these guys. And right now we know they're on time. There's no notice of defaults because it would have said NTDF. Usually have a substitution of trust in an NTDF because that's whenever they're selling it to someone else or someone's going to lose it. So they live there. Now we know all about the property and what's going on.